It sounds self-indulgent. I'm away for one night, so I record myself and I take a book and I... Happy vibes. Who do we get them from? Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. Yep, her.
Meghan is a trained actress. What she does is that she studies people. She's not a good actress, but she is a trained one, right? She's been doing it her entire life. And
You're not going to believe what just happened. Kim Kardashian and Kris Jenner just did something they never do. They deleted photos from a party. Not just any photos either. Photos with Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. Now here's the thing. When the Kardashians, the family that literally lives for attention, suddenly removes content, something went seriously wrong. And get this, there's this one photo that went absolutely viral before it disappeared. Harry's standing there at Kris Jenner's 70th birthday bash, eyes completely glazed over, looking totally out of it, while Meghan's forcing this huge smile next to him.
Harry, with a face like thunder, he's looking down. He's not even looking at her. She's way behind him. And
the internet went wild. People were zooming in, taking screenshots, asking what was going on. Then Candace Owens stepped in and broke down the real reason those photos vanished. And honestly, it's way more embarrassing than anyone thought. Because this wasn't about privacy. This wasn't about respect. This was about damage control. And what Meghan tried to pull off, it backfired so badly that even the Kardashians wanted nothing to do with it. So let's talk about what really went down at that party. Why Hollywood's quietly backing away, and how one night with the Kardashians exposed everything Meghan's been trying to hide. But before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because what I'm about to reveal is wild. Drop a like if you're already hooked.
One of the executives came out and said they quite literally have no talent, but worse than that, they don't want to work.
Trust me, by the end of this video, you're going to see exactly why Meghan panicked and why even the Kardashians backed away from her. Let's get into it. Get this, Meghan and Harry actually showed up to Kris Jenner's 70th birthday party. Yeah, that Kris Jenner, the momager herself. Now here's the catch that nobody's really talking about. They weren't even directly invited. They came as someone's plus ones. Let that sink in for a second. We're talking about a prince and his wife rolling up to a party as an afterthought guest. That's already kind of wild, right? Think about it. This is Meghan Markle, the woman who married into British royalty, who had that massive royal wedding that the whole world watched, who sat down with Oprah for that huge interview. And now she's showing up to a Kardashian birthday party without her own invitation, just tagging along with whoever got them through the door. But listen, the moment they walked through those doors, things were way different than what Meghan expected. This party wasn't some intimate celebrity gathering with a handful of A-listers sipping champagne. It was full-on Kardashian production mode. Cameras absolutely everywhere. Like, not just a photographer in the corner. We're talking Hulu film crews set up in multiple rooms with full lighting rigs. Influencers taking selfies in every corner, posting to Instagram stories in real time. Production assistants running around with clipboards and earpieces. Camera operators positioning themselves for the best angles. Lights, boom mics, directors calling shots, the whole 9 yards. This wasn't a party. This was content being filmed for their show.
she is beaming like this is the biggest moment of her life, save her wedding.
Here's the thing about Meghan. Sources say she genuinely thought she was walking into something elegant and sophisticated. You know, like one of those quiet, refined dinners that Oprah probably hosts at her Montecito estate. The kind where everyone sits around a beautifully decorated table talking about meaningful topics, social causes, maybe sharing inspiring stories, soft ambient lighting, intimate conversations, classical music playing softly in the background, servers quietly refilling wine glasses. That sophisticated, understated Hollywood elite vibe. That's what she apparently expected. Instead, she got pure Kardashian chaos. And I mean chaos in the most Kardashian way possible. loud music pumping through expensive speakers, flashing cameras going off every few seconds. People everywhere. Celebrities, influencers, reality TV stars, business moguls, all mixing together. Producers literally giving directions to guests about where to stand for better shots. Camera crews weaving through the crowd. Kim Kardashian in full boss mode, greeting guests while simultaneously managing the production, making sure every moment was being captured perfectly. This is what the Kardashians do. They don't just throw parties. They create filmed experiences. And people notice something immediately. Meghan and Harry seemed completely out of sync with each other. Not just a little off, dramatically disconnected. Like they weren't even on the same page about why they were there or what they were supposed to be doing. It was one of those things where you can just feel the tension between two people, even from across the room. Witnesses said Meghan looked pumped up, like overly energized for the situation. Like she was gearing up to work the room, network, and make sure she was seen. She had this intensity about her like she was preparing for something big. Sources described her as looking eager, scanning the room constantly, making mental notes of who was there.
Never, ever in the history of the world has there been a couple that has grifted as hard and as successfully as they have, right? You just grifted off of your family.
She was in what people called networking mode from the second she arrived. But Harry, complete opposite energy. He looked like someone who just realized he made a huge mistake showing up. You know that feeling when you walk into a situation and immediately think, I shouldn't be here? That's what people said his face looked like. He wasn't mingling, wasn't engaging, just kind of standing there looking uncomfortable like he wanted to be literally anywhere else. One guest described it perfectly. They said Meghan arrived like she was the star of the show, while Harry seemed like he was being dragged to something he never agreed to in the first place. And that contrast, that's what people started noticing before anything else even happened. The body language alone was telling a story that nobody expected to see. So the party happens, everyone's mingling, cameras are rolling, and like clockwork, Kim and Kris start posting about it on Instagram. This is standard Kardashian procedure, right? They document everything. Every event, every birthday, every celebration gets the full social media treatment. It's literally part of their brand. So nobody thought twice when the photos started going up. And in those initial posts, Meghan and Harry are visible. Not front and center necessarily, but they're there. You can see them in several shots, smiling with the family, posing with other guests, doing the whole party thing. People started commenting immediately. Wait, is that Meghan Markle? Are Harry and Meghan at Kris Jenner's party? The comments section was going wild. People were tagging their friends, reposting screenshots, making memes. You know how the internet gets when they spot something unexpected? Then something strange happened. Like completely unexpected. The photos started disappearing, not slowly, not one at a time, just gone, vanished. Every single photo that showed Meghan and Harry completely removed from both Kim and Kris's accounts. And here's what made it so obvious. Kris had posted this massive birthday slideshow with about 20 photos from the party.
It shows us what the Sussexes have been reduced to.
All these pictures of her with celebrities, family members, friends, everyone who came to celebrate. After the deletion, not one single glimpse of the Sussexes. They were completely erased from the narrative. Now listen, this is where things get interesting. Because the Kardashians don't just delete content for no reason. This is a family that's built their entire empire on sharing every moment of their lives. Good days, bad days, everything in between, it all goes online. They've shared births, breakups, business deals, family drama, literally everything. Deleting posts goes against their entire brand strategy. So when they suddenly remove a bunch of photos from a major birthday celebration, people immediately knew something was up. The internet went absolutely insane. Screenshots that people had already taken started flying everywhere. People were posting side-by-side comparisons showing the before and after. Look, this photo had Meghan in the background and now it's gone. This one showed Harry talking to someone and it's been deleted. Social media detectives were zooming in on every detail, trying to figure out exactly which photos got removed and why. Reddit threads were popping up, analyzing the whole situation. Twitter was going crazy with theories. TikTok creators were making videos breaking down the timeline of when photos went up and when they came down. And here's the thing that really got people talking. The photos weren't deleted immediately. They stayed up long enough for thousands of people to see them, comment on them, screenshot them, and share them. Hours. Maybe even close to a day. So it's not like someone made a quick mistake and corrected it right away. These photos were up, they were getting engagement, people were reacting to them, and then suddenly they all disappeared at once. That's not an accident, it's a deliberate decision.
Hollywood is transfixed after pictures of the Sussexes were mysteriously removed from the glittering collection.
And when you're dealing with the Kardashians, who have entire teams managing their social media, nothing happens by chance. Posts are calculated, deletions are intentional. People started asking the obvious questions. Why would Kim and Kris remove photos from Kris's own birthday party? What happened that made them want to erase Meghan and Harry from the whole event? Did something go wrong at the party that we didn't see? Was there drama behind the scenes? And the more people talked about it, the bigger the story became. What started as, oh, some photos got deleted, turned into, the Kardashians are trying to distance themselves from Meghan and Harry, and we need to know why. Listen, this is where Candace Owens stepped into the conversation and absolutely tore into this whole situation.
Just annoyed me. And so I want you to listen to this 10-second clip.
And when I say she went in, I mean she went deep. She didn't just talk about the deleted photos. She explained exactly why they vanished in the first place. And her take, it got intense really fast. Candace came out and said, look, this whole thing has nothing to do with privacy, respect, or Meghan suddenly feeling uncomfortable with cameras. That's not what happened here. According to Candace, the real reason those photos disappeared has everything to do with how Harry appeared in them. And once she pointed it out, you can't unsee it. In those viral shots from the party, Harry appears completely disconnected from reality. Not just tired or bored, we're talking glazed eyes, totally unfocused, staring off into space. His expression is blank, empty. Nobody's home upstairs. People who saw the photos before they got deleted started talking about it immediately. They were saying he seemed out of it, not even mentally present at the party. Some described him as appearing dazed, somewhere else entirely in his mind. And here's what made it so noticeable, the contrast. Because right next to Harry, you've got Meghan forcing this huge smile. She's posing, she's engaging with the camera, she's doing everything you're supposed to do at a party when you know you're being photographed. But Harry, he's just standing there with this expression that screams, I don't want to be here. The difference between them was brutal to look at. One person trying way too hard to appear happy, and another person who's given up on even pretending. Candace pointed out that this wasn't even the first time people noticed this about Harry. Remember the World Series video? That clip went viral for the exact same reason.
The world, has there been a couple that has grifted as hard and as successfully as they have, right? You just grifted off of your family.
Meghan's in the stands, bouncing up and down, clapping, acting super excited about the game. Meanwhile, Harry's sitting right next to her with this dead stare. No emotion, no excitement, just blank. Someone pressed pause on him while everyone else kept moving. That video became a whole thing on the internet because the contrast was so obvious and kind of uncomfortable to watch. So now you've got the Kris Jenner party photos with the same exact dynamic. Meghan's overly enthusiastic while Harry's completely checked out. And according to Candace, that's precisely why Meghan wanted those photos gone. Because when you put those images out there for the world to see, it tells a certain narrative. And that narrative isn't what Meghan wants people discussing. Think about what those photos actually reveal. A couple that's completely out of sync. A guy who appears miserable standing next to someone trying desperately to make everything seem perfect. That's not a good visual for anyone, but especially not for two people who've built this whole narrative about their relationship and their new life together. When the visuals directly contradict what you're trying to sell, that becomes a problem. Candace's whole point was that Meghan looked at those photos, realized how Harry appeared, and immediately panicked. Because once those images are out there circulating on social media, people start asking questions. They start comparing, they start noticing patterns. And the pattern here, Harry's been appearing this way for a while now. This wasn't just one bad photo. This is becoming his default expression in public. And when Candace laid all this out, suddenly the deletion made perfect sense. It wasn't about consent forms or being ambushed by cameras. It was about damage control. Meghan realized those photos were showing something she couldn't control, the truth about how disconnected they really are. So the solution? Make the photos disappear and hope people forget what they saw.
Can't believe the information that has been exposed about her. If you don't know who Kim Kardashian...
Except the internet doesn't forget. Once something goes viral, it's out there forever. Screenshots exist. People saved those images. And now with the deletion, even more people went looking for them. So after the photos disappeared, Meghan's team decided to put out their own version of what happened. And their explanation? She was mortified. That's the exact word they used. They put out this whole narrative about how Meghan felt uncomfortable at the party, how she didn't expect all the cameras, how the whole night was just too much for her. They painted this picture of her being a victim of circumstance who got trapped in an overwhelming situation she never signed up for. And then they took it even further. They claimed that Meghan specifically didn't want photos taken, that she had checked no on some kind of consent form about being photographed. They made it sound super official, right? Like there was this formal process where guests could opt out of being in photos, and Meghan had supposedly done exactly that. So according to her team, Kim and Kris posting those photos was basically going against Meghan's wishes. That's the angle they were pushing. Here's where it gets absolutely wild, though. People magazine, which has been covering celebrity stuff forever and has sources everywhere, came out and confirmed something huge. There were no consent forms. They couldn't verify any paperwork like that existed at all. Not a single form. Not even a clipboard sitting on a table somewhere asking guests to initial whether they were okay being photographed. The whole consent form angle, nobody could find any trace of it. Think about that for a second. The entire defense Meghan's team was using just didn't hold up. They were saying she said no to photos and they posted them anyway. But there was literally no way for her to officially decline in the first place. The Kardashians don't do consent forms at their parties. Everyone who shows up knows cameras are going to be everywhere. That's just how their events work.
The monarchy, or is the biggest damage actually to the brand of himself?
But here's what makes this even more interesting. Everyone who was actually at that party tells a completely different account of Meghan's behavior. According to multiple witnesses, she wasn't hiding from cameras. She wasn't trying to stay out of photos. She was all smiles the entire night. Not just polite grins either, full-on posing, engaging with photographers, making sure she was in frame. Sources said she was clearly comfortable with being photographed, and it wasn't just about posing for the camera. Witnesses say Meghan was working that room hard. She was introducing herself to pretty much everyone there, walking up to guests, starting conversations, making connections. She was asking about producers, talking about her own projects, trying to network with anyone who might be useful to her career. One person at the party said she seemed laser focused on making professional connections. But here's the detail that really contradicts the whole uncomfortable narrative. A witness said Meghan actually approached someone from the production team, not to complain, not to ask them to stop filming, but to ask questions about the footage. She wanted to know what Kim was planning to use, how they were going to edit everything, which parts of the party were going to end up in the show. She was asking about the production process, like she was genuinely interested in being part of it. Does that sound like somebody who felt overwhelmed? Because to most people, if you're genuinely uncomfortable with cameras, you don't walk up to the production crew and start asking technical questions about editing. You try to avoid them, you stay in corners, you leave early, you definitely don't spend time asking which footage is making the final cut. So now you've got this massive contradiction. On one hand, Meghan's team is telling the media she was uncomfortable, overwhelmed, and never wanted photos in the first place.
You are losing us money. Well, Spotify, that's kind of your fault because it's pretty obvious that these two are only good at selling their family.
On the other hand, you've got actual witnesses from the party saying she was engaged, all smiles, networking, and literally asking about the production. Those two versions don't match up at all. And when people started connecting those dots, the whole narrative Meghan's team tried to create started crumbling. Because if you're going to claim you were blindsided, you probably shouldn't have spent half the night acting like you were auditioning for the show. Get this. The more details that came out about Meghan's actual behavior at the party, the stranger the whole situation became. Because what witnesses were describing wasn't someone who felt uncomfortable or out of place. It was someone who was in full-on work mode, like aggressively networking mode. Multiple sources said Meghan spent the entire night checking if photographers were getting good angles of her.
I'm sure she's eager to do more, but the financial terms of a deal were obviously not disclosed.
Not subtly either. She'd position herself in certain spots, look around to see where the cameras were, and then adjust her stance. She was conscious of her placement in every single moment. One person described it as watching someone who was hyper-aware of being photographed and wanted to make sure every shot counted. And then there's what she was doing with Harry. Apparently, she kept moving him around the room, not just casually suggesting they go talk to someone, actually repositioning him physically for better lighting and better photo opportunities. She'd steer him to different spots, adjust where he was standing, make sure they were both positioned well for the cameras that were everywhere. The whole thing felt really planned out and strategic. She was also fixing her hair constantly throughout the night. Sources said she'd check it, smooth it down, move it over her shoulder, check it again. The kind of behavior you'd expect from someone doing a professional photo shoot, not someone at a birthday party who supposedly didn't want to be photographed. If you're genuinely trying to avoid attention, you don't spend time making sure you're camera ready. But here's what really stood out to people who were there. Meghan kept whispering instructions to Harry throughout the night, telling him where to stand, telling him to smile more, telling him to engage with certain people. One witness said at one point she literally told him to stand up straighter because he was slouching. Can you imagine? You're at a party and someone's constantly giving you stage directions like you're filming a scene. Meanwhile, Harry's whole vibe was completely different. While Meghan was working the room and managing every detail, Harry was just standing there.
Real. And you're just so thoroughly disappointed in Prince Harry.
Alone, looking uncomfortable with a drink in his hand. Multiple people noticed he seemed isolated even though he was surrounded by guests. No mingling, no starting conversations, no networking, just kind of existing in the space, disconnected from everything happening around him. Sources described him as looking lost, like he didn't know what he was supposed to be doing or why he was even there. One guest said Harry kept standing in the same spot for long periods, just watching Meghan move through the room. Another person mentioned he had this expression like he wanted to leave, but couldn't figure out how to tell her without causing a scene. The contrast between their energy levels was apparently really obvious to everyone around them. Meghan was on, fully engaged, talking to everyone, making connections, working every angle. Meanwhile, Harry looked drained, tired, over it, like he'd checked out mentally, but his body was still physically present because he had to be. And here's the thing that made the Kardashians and other guests find the whole situation weird. Normal people who go to parties just enjoy themselves. You show up, you have fun, you talk to people naturally, you eat some food, you take some pictures if someone asks, and you go home. You don't treat it like a professional obligation where every moment needs to be choreographed and controlled. But that's exactly what Meghan was doing. She was treating Kris Jenner's birthday party like it was a business event that required strategic planning and execution. The Kardashians have been around celebrities their entire lives. Hosting hundreds of parties over the years means recognizing how people normally act at these things. So when someone shows up and starts behaving like they're managing a campaign instead of attending a celebration, it registers as odd. One insider mentioned that Kim and some of the family members were noticing Meghan's behavior throughout the night and found it unusual.
So I want to talk about Kim Kardashian because this story just keeps getting darker.
Not offensive necessarily, just strange, like watching someone play a role instead of just being themselves. Now here's the thing about Kim Kardashian. She actually wasn't mad about deleting the photos. That's not what bothered her. She's deleted stuff from Instagram before. It's not a big deal for her. What got under her skin was something completely different. It was what happened after the deletion. See, once those photos came down, Meghan's team went into full spin mode. They started putting out this narrative that made it sound like the Kardashians had ambushed Meghan, like Kim and Kris had posted photos without permission, blindsided her with cameras, and created this whole uncomfortable situation that Meghan never agreed to. They were making the Kardashians look inconsiderate and disrespectful of boundaries. And that's where Kim got irritated. Because she was actually at that party, Kim watched how Meghan was acting all night, posing for every single photo opportunity, smiling and engaging with the cameras, making sure she was positioned perfectly in frame. Kim knew Meghan wasn't some uncomfortable guest trying to hide in the corner. She was front and center, working it. Sources close to Kim said she was telling people around her, how can she be upset? She was smiling ear to ear the entire night. And that's a fair point, right? You can't spend hours posing and networking and acting like you love being there and then later claim you were uncomfortable and caught off guard. That doesn't add up. Either you were fine with it or you weren't. You can't have it both ways. But that's exactly what Meghan was trying to do, and this is where Candace Owens made a really sharp observation about the whole thing. She pointed out that Meghan wanted the attention twice. First, she wanted the attention and credibility that comes from being photographed with Kim Kardashian at an exclusive party. That's valuable. That's association with Hollywood power. That puts you in the conversation with A-listers. But then Meghan also wanted sympathy from the situation. The poor Meghan got taken advantage of by the big bad Kardashians.
And I'm just going to be honest, she didn't look good in either shot.
Oh, everybody's been saying this. That's a conversation.
Angle. So she was trying to get the benefit of being at the party and being photographed while also getting the benefit of looking like someone who didn't want any of that attention in the first place. That's playing both sides, and Kim saw right through it. The issue here wasn't really about the photos themselves. Kim has dealt with way more complicated media situations than this. The problem was the story getting shifted after the fact, creating this version where Meghan looked uncomfortable and the Kardashians looked inconsiderate. That's what crossed the line for Kim. Because here's what people don't always realize about the Kardashians. Their entire brand is built on being media savvy, understanding how to control narratives, how optics work, and public perception better than almost anyone in Hollywood. So when someone tries to manipulate a situation involving them, it gets noticed immediately. And they're not fans of that approach. But here's what's interesting about how Kim handled it. No public statement, no social media defense, no calling up favorite tabloids to give her side of the story. She just quietly removed the photos and moved on with her life. No drama, no explanation, no back and forth, just done. And that silent response, that actually said more than any statement ever could. Because when Kim Kardashian doesn't feel the need to defend herself or explain her actions, that's a message. It's her way of saying, I don't owe you an explanation and I'm not playing this game. It's a power move. The Kardashians understand that sometimes saying nothing is louder than saying everything. That quiet dismissal hit differently than if Kim had gotten into a public fight about it. If she'd responded, it would have turned into this whole he said, she said media circus that would have dragged on for weeks. Instead, by just removing the photos.
So my feeling is obviously Meghan sent her a message and was like, get rid of this. Why?
And staying silent. Kim made it clear that Meghan wasn't worth the energy of a response. And in Hollywood, that kind of dismissal is actually more damaging than any public call-out could be. Here's where everything connects. Once the photos disappeared and the drama unfolded, people in the industry started paying attention. Insiders, publicists, producers, folks who actually matter. And what they saw wasn't good for Meghan and Harry. Listen, the Kardashians are connected to everyone who's anyone in entertainment. Producers, directors, studio executives, streaming platforms, brand deals. When something happens involving them, word spreads fast. And the word about this party situation wasn't flattering. Insiders started whispering that if the Kardashians, who literally thrive on drama, don't want to be associated with you.
He's a victim of his own stupidity, and I mean that, and I'm saying it heartfelt, just so you know.
That's a massive red flag. This family built a billion-dollar empire on controversy and headlines. They don't back away from attention, they chase it. So when they quietly distance themselves from someone, the industry notices. But here's where things got messier. Sources say Harry had no idea Meghan was planning to have those photos taken down. She made that decision without telling him. And when he found out, he wasn't happy. According to people close to the situation, Harry snapped at her. His exact words reportedly were, "We were just guests." Think about that statement. We were just guests. Harry's basically saying they weren't in a position to make demands, weren't the hosts, weren't there with any authority to cause drama at someone else's party. He's acknowledging they were plus ones, not VIPs. And for him to push back like that, especially knowing how Meghan approaches everything, that's significant. For a couple that always presents this united front, joint interviews, books together, a whole Netflix series about their relationship, that shows a serious crack. When they're not on the same page about something this public, and Harry's frustrated enough to call her out, something's really wrong behind the scenes. The damage was done. The deleted photos, the conflicting narratives, the awkward behavior, Harry's uncomfortable expressions, all of it circulating through entertainment circles. Then Piers Morgan did his segment about the situation. It went absolutely viral, millions of views, trending everywhere, picked up by news outlets. And here's what was different. Usually when someone criticizes Meghan, you'll see people defending her.
He is an unbelievable village idiot.
Celebrities, journalists, fans saying, leave her alone. But this time, weirdly quiet. Viewers were laughing, nodding, agreeing, sharing it with comments like, he's not wrong, or finally someone said it. That shift from sympathy to exhaustion is huge. Audiences aren't giving her the benefit of the doubt anymore. They're just tired of the constant drama. And in the entertainment world, once people stop defending you, your currency drops fast. industry insiders started talking about Meghan's approach, the way she tries managing narratives she doesn't have authority over, creating problems where there didn't need to be any, making everything about image management instead of just being present. Those conversations matter because the business runs on relationships and reputation. Get labeled as difficult or someone who causes unnecessary drama, and that follows you. Sources were saying Meghan's panic wasn't really about the optics. It was about realizing she'd walked into a situation where the Kardashians had all the power and she had none. She couldn't dictate how those photos were used, couldn't shape the narrative, couldn't manage what others said. For someone who spent years micromanaging her public image, that loss of influence was terrifying. So when Kim deleted those photos, insiders saw it clearly. Kim wasn't protecting Meghan, she was protecting her own brand from association with someone becoming a liability. And that's brutal, because the Kardashians don't distance themselves from controversy, they embrace it. When even they're stepping back, that sends a clear message to everyone else watching. So here's where we're at with this whole situation. The photos disappeared from Instagram, but what happened? Yeah, that's not going anywhere. What started as just another Kardashian birthday party turned into this massive expose of how disconnected Meghan and Harry really are. Not just from each other, but from reality, from the industry they're trying to break into, from the image they keep trying to sell to the public. And Candace Owens really nailed it when she broke down what actually happened here.
People want to listen to something that sounds real. They don't want to be lectured about feminism. They don't want to be lectured about what they're doing wrong. They don't want to be told.
Meghan walked into that party thinking she could run the room. She thought she could use the Kardashians for her own benefit, get the photos she wanted, get the association with Hollywood royalty, and then manage the narrative however she needed to afterwards. She genuinely believed she could play the same games she tried with the royal family. But here's the thing, the Kardashians aren't the royal family. They don't operate under centuries of protocol and tradition. They operate under one rule: protect the brand at all costs. And they saw right through what Meghan was trying to do. According to Candace, the Kardashians were 10 steps ahead before Meghan even walked through the door. They knew exactly what they were dealing with. And when things got messy, they handled it the only way they know how: quietly and decisively. Kim deleted those photos, but it wasn't about being nice or accommodating Meghan's feelings. It was about cutting ties before the association did any damage to the Kardashian brand. That's cold, but it's effective. And in the entertainment world, that kind of calculated distance speaks volumes. When the Kardashians don't want their name connected to yours, everyone else in the industry takes notice. And that's exactly what happened. The industry went quiet, not just about this specific incident, but about Meghan in general. People stopped defending her. Publications stopped writing sympathetic pieces. Celebrities stopped publicly supporting her. Even the people who used to speak up for her have gone silent. That silence is deafening because it means the business has collectively decided she's not worth the trouble. The Kardashians have moved on. They posted about other events. They're doing their shows, their businesses, their brand deals. Life continued for them without missing a beat. Meanwhile, Meghan's stuck dealing with the aftermath of a party she thought would help her image, but ended up exposing all the cracks she's been trying to hide. And here's the irony that makes this whole thing so wild. Meghan wanted to be A-list so badly. That was the whole point of everything. The marriage, the move to California, the Netflix deals, the constant networking, showing up at events like this. She wanted that spotlight, that influence, that power that comes with being Hollywood royalty. She wanted to be in rooms with people like Kim Kardashian as an equal, not as a guest. But this party proved the exact opposite. It showed she's become the one thing she never wanted, someone the industry actively avoids, creating problems instead of opportunities, making simple situations complicated, Can't just show up and enjoy a party without turning it into a whole production about image management and narrative orchestration. You can't unsee what's already been seen. The deleted photos, the conflicting accounts, the uncomfortable body language. It's all out there. You can't put that back in the box. And trying to erase it just made more people look closer at what was really going on. Meghan tried to dominate a room she had no power in, and it backfired spectacularly. The Kardashians walked away unscathed. The entertainment business took notes, and the photos might be gone from Instagram. But what really happened that night and what it revealed, that's permanent. So, what do you think? Did Meghan know what she was walking into, or did she really believe she could outplay the Kardashians? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you made it this far, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Because this drama, it's far from over. I'll catch you in the next one.